I get asked all the time what it is that I eat on the trails during both my training and my races. So in this video, I'm going to run through my fueling strategies for everything from a 2 to 3 hour trail run to a multi-day race. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Jeff Peltier and I am a trail runner and filmmaker based in Vancouver, Canada. And let me start by saying that I am not a nutritionist. I am not a sports physiologist, and I have no formal education that would in any way make me qualified to give nutritional advice. But I do have over a decade of personal experience, both on the road and on the trails. And I have also been lucky to have trained pretty extensively under the guidance of a team at a sports physiology lab, where I would get regularly tested for a number of metrics that I'll talk about today, and I'd get professional advice on my fueling. Like my friend Adam Campbell once said, as athletes, we're all just out there collecting data on ourselves, and some of us are just lucky to have collected more data than others. But nutrition is also a very personal thing, and what works for me just might not work for you. I'm also really lucky in that I have somewhat of an iron stomach, so I can eat almost anything without issue, which I know is definitely not the case for most people. The other thing to remember is that sports nutrition really is something that is constantly evolving. I mean, there was a time not too long ago when people were quite literally dying from overhydration at road marathons because we just hadn't yet learned about the importance of electrolytes. Okay, so let me start with a bit of science. Now, I used to get my VO2 max tested pretty regularly, along with both my carbohydrate and fat utilization rate. And we burn a blend of stored carbohydrate and fat for fuel all the time. We can train our bodies to burn fat more effectively, but carbohydrates really are the limiting source during harder races or training sessions. On average, we have around 2,000 calories worth of glycogen stored in our muscles and liver. And on average, we use about 100 calories per mile when running at a marathon effort, which is why during a marathon, many runners hit the wall at around 20 miles. Now, I was taught that we should aim to replace about 60% of the carbohydrate that we burn in training. It's normally best to use liquids or gels, as they tend to cause fewer gastrointestinal problems than solid food. But for sessions longer than 3 hours, most people find that they do need at least a little solid food as well. The main challenge when fueling while on the run is that there is a limit on how much carbohydrate we can digest during exercise. I've read estimates for the average person of between anywhere from about 150 to 300 calories, depending on the intensity of the exercise. Now, this would be the equivalent of 1.5 to 3 gel packs an hour, which is right around what many of the product manufacturers recommend. During a marathon effort, athletes can burn as much as 1,000 calories per hour, but for longer efforts, it's going to be much less, maybe half or even a third of that. And at lower intensities, we can also absorb more carbohydrate. Now, obviously, the bigger the gap between calories burned and calories taken in, the sooner we're going to have to stop or at least slow down. Whereas if we're able to consume closer to the same number of calories we're burning, we can stay in motion for much longer. And this is one of the things that really separates a race like a marathon from something like a 100-miler. 100-milers really are more of an eating contest than anything else. You're not going to win an ultra just by eating more, but you can definitely sabotage